Da da dun dun dee da da dun dun da. Da 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 ding dun da. Da da dun dun dee da da dun dun da. Da 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 da. Da 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 dun dun da. Da da dun dun dee da da dun dun da. Da 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 dun.
Hello, Oliver. How's that film coming along? You know, the one we were making last year.
Well, I'm just putting it through the projector. If you'd like to sit down, I'll show it you. There are the chairs. Now, turn out the lights, and off we go. All this reminds me of when I started all this palaver. When I was a kid, Father gave me a little box camera. He was a keen photographer himself, and I very rapidly became keen too. Then I grew up, of course, and in due course I went to Newcastle on Tyne for a job, where I met a Mr. Hirschfeld, who was a recently escaped refugee from Hitler's Germany, and was now acting as an interpreter in the drawing office where I worked. That office, unfortunately, closed down. David Hirschfeld had to find himself a job, and I was out too, for that matter. I can't remember what happened to me, but he said, "I think I'm going to make canoes." And I said, and don't ask me why, because I just don't know, If you're going to do that, David, I'm going to buy the first one you make. He set up Tyne Canoe Company, and I bought his fourth canoe. And here am I unpacking my own canoe from the garage roof. It was a folding canoe, as we all had in those days. Then I became seriously ill, and the family kindly suggested they should give me a present as I got better, and I said I wanted a cinema camera. So they gave me a 16mm cinema camera of the day, and also a projector, of course. And I got very keen on this form of photography. And I biffed off by making various short films of small expeditions that I made, and then I made 3 films which have become rather well known, called the Clarence films, where I showed people how to canoe and how to be safe about it. Then somebody took me after the war on a very adventurous expedition on the River Teme when it was in flood. And I thought this was great. And the next expedition I did was a fortnight's expedition. Somebody else had organized it, and I went too and made a film of that. And I realized that I'd got something. I'd got a real memento of the holiday, which I could look at any time. These gradually grew up into the series of expeditionary films which I made over the next 14 years, I think it was. It is one of the faster rivers in the country, so you don't have to do much work. It's only asses who canoe up rivers. The man who wrote the song just wasn't a canoeist. Can I canoe you up the river? No fear. Down river, yes. You just don't work unless it's necessary to steer the thing. When you do these trips down these little streams, you do come across nature as it really is. We get anglers being cross with us for interfering, but in actual fact the number of anglers who we find have just caught a fish just after we've gone by is quite extraordinary. And a lot of passengers paying their small sums of money to be sick in the fast motorboats. No fun for anybody there. Prefer canoeing, please. Another impossible piece to us. So get in below the Falls of Tummel. Where we picked the boy up, I can't think. Doesn't matter. He had a nice ride in the front of my huge canoe. And here is Heather Meakin. Was one of the strongest girls in the country, we've told. In fact, one of her difficulties was that as she paddled, she used to break her paddles. She'd be roaring with laughter as she went down the river because she only had half a paddle left in her hands. So here we were, floating down a most wonderful river with absolutely clear water. It was astonishingly clear. We could even see our own shadows on the bottom of the river. We could even see the fish in the river quite easily and clearly. And did they take any notice of us? No. First loops, these oh, that was a good one, a full round. And about 1966 we were kicked over to Bude because we were told we were too dangerous at Polzeath. I became the coach to the British slalom team. We did better and better and got high medals, including a gold. And then, because of my previous experience in the education films and in coaching, the British Canoe Union offered to make me the national coach. I accepted it and absolutely loved the job. It was my vocation.
Look at it how you like, or take it how you will, canoeing is great fun. Whether you go in for racing, or for slalom, or just go touring, it is enormous fun. In this film, we are going to show you just the basic skills in canoeing, the things that you must know right from the very start if you want to be good at it.
The first competition that we're going to watch is slalom, and we're at a World Championships in Austria. I've got with me John Fazy, who is a coach to the British slalom team. John, I see three people starting off together. Do they usually go off in threes?
We are in fact watching the team event where three paddlers representing a country paddle down the course together. These paddlers will also compete in the individual event.
They're going through the gates very carefully without touching them. Do they score penalties or something if they hit them?
Yes, penalty seconds are added on to the elapsed time of every competitor.
So it's time plus penalties that count, is that right?
Yes, and the paddler has 2 runs. The best counts for the score. This paddler, gaining penalties here, won't stand much chance of winning with this run.
Jolly pretty the way they cross the current.
You should be correctly dressed, with gym shoes on your feet, so that if you do step out onto a broken bottle, it won't matter. And a pair of shorts, because you may find yourself swimming, and you can't swim in longs, and a brightly coloured jersey, so that when you are swimming, your friends can see you easily and come to your assistance. Now get the proper equipment out of the canoe. A spray cover, and a life jacket. These put on properly according to the maker's instructions. And once on, make sure that they are secure. Practice, 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 until all things become easy. And even when something unexpected happens, as a girl comes down to the water's edge and playfully throws a football at you, a slap support will stop you from capsizing. Then you draw over to the ball, pick it up, and throw it back to her. And then scull into the side, perhaps to remonstrate, or perhaps even to make another girlfriend.
It was great fun. And what is canoeing about but fun?